Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Stone Cold Hockey video for the 78-79 WHA season, which is technically called The Last Dance. We've played a lot of games, and we are down to the final 5, pretty much for all of them, for games. Edmonton holds a 6-point lead over Quebec for first place in the WHA. But we do know that it's Edmonton or Quebec. Well, it'll be 1-2. Cincy can't catch the top two, so they're at third. New England with 77 points for fourth. Winnipeg will almost all but certainly take fifth, with Birmingham taking sixth. So that means Birmingham will miss the playoffs. Winnipeg will have to play probably Cincy or New England to qualify for the semifinals. Whereas, things happen. WHA has scored 107 goals. Can you fucking believe it? 107 goals in one season? That can't be right. Points wise, he has 157. He is going to win the WHA title, scoring title, with Mark Tartif and Robbie Fatorik both at 113 points. Funny thing is they both had 40 goals, 73 assists. Ken Nielsen is the other 100-point scorer, 103. There's going to be one more 100-point scorer. Mark Howell is trying to get to 100 points, and there'll be only 5 at 100 points. Wayne Gretzky's coming up the bend. He's now 11th in points, which is amazing. But yeah, Real Cluche, take away all his assists, he would be third behind Tardiv and Fatorik for points. Penalty minutes wise, Rick 5. He has a 30-goal season, and he's gonna maybe win the WHA penalty minutes. Mark from Scott Campbell, Paul Baxter, and Barry Melrose are there too. Morris Lukowitz, 50 goals, but he's 116 penalty minutes. But he's like all that. Yeah, goal scoring, Gretzky's 12. It's like, what the fuck? Goaltending, Corsi and Berdur are 1-2 at 309 and 312. Dave Drain 316. So you know your role and shut your mouth. Standings wise, everyone's played 80 games. Edmonton and New England played the extra game, but that might not matter. So Edmonton, Quebec, Cincy, New England, Winnipeg, Birmingham. Birmingham will miss out, and the Baby Bulls will be disbanded. And Cincy trying to plead with the WHA to get a team to the NHL, but no, won't happen. Highlights. All that with 31 hat tricks in all. Fan voting, only 6 games hit the magic 30 mark for points, for fan points. Number 1 right now is Edmonton's win over Quebec after being down 3-0 but winning 7-6 on Prolongation. Edmonton Cincy January 26th when Cincy was up 6-3 and Edmonton put up 4 goals to win in overtime. Birmingham 6-5 win October 13th when they were down 4-1 to Winnipeg in the first game of the season, but scored 5 straight goals, including overtime. Winnipeg Indy 6-5 when Indy was struggling. Well, Indy was up 4-1. And then, of course, went against New England when they were down 4-1. Those guys, one of their 4 wins was going up 4-1 down against the Whalers. Cincy Birmingham from March 23rd when Birmingham was up 4-1 and Cincy scored 4 straight goals. I'm actually surprised that was not like we've had a pair of 3-goal comebacks, but that's not in the 30-point range. Winnipeg Birmingham, well, no, that's November 9th. New England Winnipeg, New England was down 3-0 to Winnipeg, but scored 4 straight goals, including one with 18 seconds left. And Cincy Birmingham, when Birmingham was up 4-1, Cincy scored 4 straight goals. Well, actually, that's not it. Edmonton Birmingham. That's right. Edmonton Birmingham. Birmingham's with a 3-0 lead, but Edmonton scored 4 goals, including overtime. That game only had 28. New England 26. So we're going to the last week. Cincy beat Quebec. Edmonton beat Birmingham. Winnipeg beat New England. Now we're going until someone gets to like 3 games left, and then we'll decide everything. Quebec only has 2 games left. So Edmonton has an 8-point lead on Quebec. That's guaranteed. Edmonton is guaranteed the 1 seed no matter what they do. Quebec is guaranteed the 2 seed. Cincy is almost all but guaranteed the 3 seed, which means that Winnipeg will have to face New England. Winnipeg, 78 games cannot catch New England, so they'll have to play on the road against Cincy or New England. So I think this is just meaningless, but we'll play till everyone gets to 80 games, and then we'll we'll do a regular season finale, and then we'll do a playoffs thing. But yeah, we'll do like the last WHA game ever, and then basically all the stupid goalies play each other. Cincy will face Quebec. This will be the last Cincy game before their um being the 3 seed and facing the Nordiques. So it is Cincy, Quebec. Mike Liu will face Louis Lafesseur. So Quebec brings Lafesseur into the net. It doesn't really matter what they do. They're the 2 seed, Cincy's the 3 seed. They'll meet in the semifinals. Cincy will bring Liu in the net. He was the 1981 MVP runner-up in the NHL. Did you know that? I don't think you did. Of course, Wayne Gretzky won it. But did you also know Mike Liu did not win the Vezina? It's like, what? He didn't win Best Goalie of the Year? Well, it's simple, because back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, the Vezina went to the goalie on the team with the fewest goals against, and we had to play 25 games. So basically, star goalies who put out a performance for the ages for teams that sucked and all that, they didn't win what they call goalie of the year. 1982, they changed the rules to make it one goalie and all that. Michel Dion, future Nordique goalie, he would be goalie for the Nordiques in the next season in the NHL. And also with Pittsburgh, Louis Lafesseur, the net for Quebec, it doesn't really matter. King Richard Brodeur getting his job done 3 years later with the Canucks, getting them to the conference final championship and winning the conference to face the Islanders, where they got swept in the 82 playoffs. And guess what? 81-82 is the next NHL season in the thing, so we'll do that. Jim Corsi, also a goalie too. The Cincinnati Stingers, this is their final game and the final the final regular season game for Robbie Ftorek, Reg Thomas, Jamie Hislop, Peter Marsh, Craig Norwich, Mike Gardner, 700 goal scorer, Bill Gilligan, Robbie Ftorek, a future NHL coach, Bill Gilligan, Rick Dudley, future NHL coach, Dave Dable, Chuck Luxell, Daryl Meggs, Byron Shutt, Barry Melrose, 93, losing head coach with the Kings in the Cup, Byron Baltimore, Michelle Parasol, Dave Forbes, Barry Lake, Mark Messier as a youngster, Clyde St. Savor, Gordy Clark, Ed Gilbert, Paul Stewart, Brian Watson, and Kelly Davis. Nordiques, Real Cluche with his 100-plus goals. There's still one more game, by the way. He has to still play. Mark Tardif, Serge Bernier, Rich Leduc, Paul Baxter, Bob Fitchner, J.C. Tremblay, Gary Lariviere, Paulin Baudouin. Well, Mark Tardif, former habitant. Real Cluche would be a hero, scoring a hat-trick in the first NHL game for the Nordiques. But unfortunately for him, they lost the game. Typical. Fitchner, J.C. Tremblay, former Habs defenseman, Gary Revere, Paulin Borderline, and then Kilte, Kurt Breckenberg, Dan Jeffrion, the son of Boom Boom Jeffrion, Francis Lacombe, Dale Hoganson, Christian Buterlo, Norm Dubé, Shields Billadou, Wally Weir, Kevin Morrison, Richard David, Jim Dory, 8 penalties in his first game, Pierre Legas, Kevin Devine, and Rene Leclerc. Here we go. 4 minutes into the game. 1 more minute. Nothing. Much later. Agitator, and Quebec gets agitated enough. Bernier. Cindy Skills, power play goal. Mr. 700. He scores his 22nd from Ftorek, who's trying to be second in the points total. Much later. And since he hits Bernier, they're trying to prevent Real Cluche from scoring. 3 minutes later, Quebec gets a 2-minute penalty. It's going to be Danny Jeffrion. Cindy Skillers, power play goal. Peter Marsh. I am Marsh. Yeah. I am Marsh. Yeah. His 53rd from Thomas makes it 2-0. 1 minute later. A miss, and Ftorek scores on the counterattack. His 43rd from Hislop and Gardner. 3-0. Yeah, Quebec's just basically playing for show. Since he looks at. Oh. 2 more minutes. Action. And they do! Battleship will get his 25th from Bordeaux, Paul and Bordeaux, and Dubé. 3-1 Cincy. 4 minutes later. Since he scores, Rich Thomas. His 34 from Fatoric and Marsh makes it 4-1. 5 minutes later. Quebec gets it early, it's 3 out. Of course it would be. Since he Marsh, not. And they'll kill the zone. Since he has 4-1, that is going to be the end of it. Corsi was supposed to be the starting goalie, so Corsi's going to come in and play the third period. Because why not? Marsh, stopped by Corsi. 4 minutes later, agitator. Quebec gets agitated. It's Tardif. But they kill the zone. Good news. Forcer, and a fight between Brian Shutt and Danny Jeffrion. Who knew Boom Boom Suns could fight? And Fatoric, his second of the night from Hislop, makes it 5-1 Stingers. Since he badly outplayed their projection, their real record was 33 wins. This will be win number 43 for them. Quebec has already beaten the real record with 45 wins instead of 41. 1 minute later, they score again. Dudley the Dragon. I don't know the theme song. His 23rd from Hislop. This game's over. Quincy will be 43, 37, and 0. So no overtime, no ties at all. Like, gets the penalty. Cote misses, and if Marsh, his second of the night from Luxa, makes it 7-1. Third would be his second from Bernier, 72. I think they're just basically trying to out WHA, making sure he doesn't score against them. And since he wins 7-2, big win for the Stingers, and maybe they'll give Quebec a run for their money. 7-2. Only 3 of the 9 goals were scored with 2 assists. Hislop with 3 assists. Nice job. Fatoric with a pair of assists. Birmingham, Winnipeg. Birmingham will play their last game, so that will be Wayne Wood who will play. Well, Birmingham's last WJ game ever. Winnipeg does have one more game left. Marcus Matson is going to play net. I know it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. Might as well go with, well, do you go with Joe Daly or Gary Suke Smith? Well, you got to go with Joe Daly. So Winnipeg's like, fine, we'll put Daly in the net. I know they have one more game left. Birmingham does not. They've won 26 games. Badly below projection. They won 32 in real life. They win 26 in this. Winnipeg, at best, can go to 37 wins. They had 39 in real life. Birmingham had, the baby Bulls, the 18-year-old signed by John Bassett to keep the league real and making sure that the NHL realized 18-year-olds are just as good as 19-year-olds in the NHL. Route 5, 50-goal scorer for the Leafs. Michel Goulet, Quebec and Chicago Icon, Canadano. Paul Henderson, Canada 72. John Stewart, Craig Hartsburg, future North Stars defenseman. He who shall not be named for A, his vehicular manslaughter of Keith Magnuson, and also for his stupidity as Leafs captain. Bob Stevenson, Steve Alley, Wayne Dillon, Louis Slager, who 5 years later would ruin Sean Hammel's career. Dave Gorman, Gaston Shingra, David Hansen, part of the Slapshot, Serge Baudin, Tony Castellato, Jim Turkowitz, Peter Moran, Greg Tebbutt, Brent Hughes, Gavin Kirk, who's been around since the Ottawa days of 1972, and Keith Crowder. Winnipeg with Kent Nielsen, future Flame, Morris Lukowicz, whose brother Ed was a 2-time Canadian champion in curling, Peter Sullivan, Terry Roskowski, Worley Lindstrom, future Oiler, Rich Preston, Barry Long, Bill Lezick, Lyle Moffat, Bob Gwendon, John Gray, Paul Tabrush, Mike Amadeo, Scott Campbell, Paul McKinnon, Greg Hicks, Roland Erickson, Steve West, Kim Claxton, Bobby Hall. I don't know how many points he got in his career. In that year. Bill Davis, not the future premier of Ontario. Lars-Eric Solberg, John Gibson, not the goalie, and Ted Green, future former Boston icon in the 1970s. 2 minutes into the game, Quebec scores! Yep, Peter Pucking Eater, his 31st from Nielsen. 5 minutes later. Winnipeg? Oh, it's not by Wood. 2 minutes later. There's a penalty influence. Can Birmingham take five? No, Michel Goulet, his 29th from Hansen and Dillon. Goulet would go to Quebec and become a good goal scorer. 2 minutes later. Overhead, no penalty. 2 minutes later. Bermingham takes a shot. Oh, it's up by Daly. 2 minutes later. And Wasikowski, his 18 from Nielsen. Big shot, 2-1. Bermingham takes the penalty. It's Castellato. But Steelers! I love that word right forward! Rich Preston Manning has 34 from Nielsen. 3 assists from Nielsen. Moffitt. Nielsen. One more game for Winnipeg. One more, mama. 1 minute later. Birmingham 5. Two minutes later. Birmingham? No. Much later. Birmingham penalty, Baudouin. Winnipeg gets the power play goal. Rich Preston again from Moffitt and Lucier. 4-1 Winnipeg. 4 minutes later. Amadeo. 5-1. Pat Regan is going to come in. Amadeo. Amadeo. His third from Gwynn and Lindstrom. That's the end of that. Pat Regan's coming in. 3 minutes later. No shot by Winnipeg. So Birmingham is in deep trouble, and it looks like they'll lose their last ever WHA game. Cincy at least has a playoff to worry about. Power play. Wait, who was the last guy? Who was the guy who scored for Birmingham again? Was it Stevenson? Who scored for them again? 4 minutes later. Actually, who was the Birmingham guy? Goulet. Okay, it was Goulet. Okay. 4 minutes later. Score. Will Goulet be the last guy at Birmingham Bull to score? An injury, Birmingham took the penalty to butt. At least they killed the zone. And Winnipeg will take the penalty. Nielsen on the power play. Shoot! Alley tries to take a shot, but miss, and Michel Goulet will go down in history as the last Birmingham Bull to score. Winnipeg wins 5-1. They have one more game left to set up themselves for probably New England. Yeah, Winnipeg knows they'll be playing New England in the qualification round, but they'll set themselves up. Birmingham had a big win for Joe Daly. He is a WHA GOAT, if you will. But yeah, Sullivan, Wasikowski, Preston, Amadeo. Hansen with 3 assists. Birmingham loses 5-1. Well, there's 2 more games. New England, Quebec. New England knows they'll host Winnipeg in a playoff round to get to the semifinals. Quebec knows they're number 2. King Richard would have been in net, but they're going to go with Levasseur. New England's a 2-goalie thing, so John Garrett will have to play in net. So Levasseur will get another kick of the can. We know about the Quebec players. What about the New England players? Well, you got the Howells, Mark, Marty, and Gordy all playing. They all were in Houston. Now they're in New England under Lacroix, who seemed to always score goals on a different team each and every freaking year. Mike Rogers, who would be a 100-point scorer in the NHL in the Rangers. Davey Keon still will be Toronto icon number 14 forever. Gordy Roberts, a 1,000 game as an American defenseman, something that Brian Leach would do, but not. He wasn't the first. That was Gordy. Warren Miller, Mike Antonovich, Pye McKenzie, who left 2 Stanley Cups in Boston behind to play in the WHA. George Lyle, Alan Heinzelman, Rick Lay, who left the Leafs to play in the WHA full-time. Ron Plum, Jordy Douglas, Brett Selwood, also leaving the Leafs for the Whalers. Jim Warner, Blaine Stoughton, also a former Leaf, turned Whaler. He would be better in Hartford. Larry Plow, Jack Carlson, Dave Inkpen, Pierre Watt, and Jeff Brubaker. As I said, we don't have to remove Quebec. Quebec delivers a hit. 6 minutes later. No shot from Quebec. 3 minutes. Aggression. Andrew. Wayne will take the penalty. It's Howe. Which one? I don't know. And score! Battleship Leduc from La Riviere and Cloutier, who's got an assist. Unreal. 6 minutes later, Cote was trying to score, but can't. So Quebec up 1-0. Real Cloutier. Is he trying to score goals? I don't know. 3 minutes later. Let's go! Leduc again. Second of the night from Bernier and Bordelot. Leduc has scored the last 4 Quebec goals. 2 in the second last game and 2 in this game. Much later. Leduc gets bumped. They don't want him to take a hat trick. Questions? And that will take the penalty. It's Wally Weir. But the whale score. Andre Lacroix, Heaven Lacroix. His 35th from Mark. Hal makes it 2-1. Hal trying to get to 100 points. And Lyle gets hurt by Baxter. Quebec will take a penalty. They're up 2-1. And anymore. Lyle. Shazam. Pyle. No Lyle. George Lyle has 16 from Mark Howell. Makes it 2-2. I think Mark's at 100 points now. Chance for Quebec. Cote. Oh, we couldn't do it. Another chance. No. 3 minutes later. Questions? Follow not to Quebec with the penalty to Bilodeau. Whalers trying to score. They do. Mark Howell. X marks the spot as 43rd for Marty, and Lacroix makes it 3-2. Much later. Agitator. Quebec gets agitated. Baxter. And Warren Miller scores from Howell, Meyerkel, and Rogers to make it 4-2. Yeah, Quebec just basically threw the game around. New England more wins than projected, and so did Quebec. So, yeah. And Warren Miller scores a second from Gordy. There's Gordy with an assist, and Marty Howell, 5-2 New England. And Professor, we might as well play the full 60 minutes. New England wins 5-2 quite easily, but Quebec was up 2-0. Pair of goals by Leduc. Warren Miller with a pair of goals. Nice for him. Mark Howell with 3 assists. That's pretty good. New England finishes third thing. Winnipeg Edmonton is the last regular season game of all time. Edmonton really were above projection. Never projected 41 wins in real life. They got 50. Winnipeg 36. Marcus Matson and Dave Dryden were supposed to be the starting goalies. But they're going to give Joe Daly. And I think they're going to give Kempuri. Might as well give Kempuri the... Yeah, they're going to give Kempuri a start, Edmonton will, against Joe Daly. They want to give Joe Daly a shot at things in the WHA. The last WHA regular season game, because it's been foretold that they will be going to the NHL. Edmonton, well, they have the great one, Wayne Gretzky, who they managed to finagle and keep him from being drafted. Blair McDonald, a great player too. Brett Callahan, Ron Chipperfield, the first Oiler captain in the NHL. Bill Cowboy Flett, still around. Dennis Subchuk, Stanley Weir. Where's the mice on the ice? Joe Micheletti, Rangers color commentator for a while. Paul Schmier, Al Hamilton, who's number 3, is retired by Edmonton, despite the fact he's never played for them. Steve Carlson, Peter Driscoll, Dave Hunter, Claire Alexander, Dave Langevin, who went to the Islanders, Dave Semenko, the bodyguard John Hughes, not the director, Doug Barry, Garnett Ace Bailey, who died in 9/11, Risto Siltalen, Bill Goldsworthy, North Stars icon, and then he went to the WHA. Jim Nielsen, former Ranger, Pierre Guite, and West George. 2 minutes into the game. Winnipeg? No. Edmonton had a chance. Much later. Trying to kill the clock. Winnipeg scores! Hurry hard! Sweep hard! Morris Lukowitz, his brother Ed, the curling guy, his 57 from Sullivan and Preston. 3 minutes later. Edmonton? No. What a stop by Daly. A little bit later. They score! Al Hamilton! One Black and Hughes makes it 1 minute later. It's not the last game for them, but like Kempuri definitely won't be playing. 2 minute penalty for Winnipeg Roskowski. Edmonton can't take advantage. And Goldsworthy gets hit by Claxon. Up to the power play for Edmonton? No. They had a chance. Al Hamilton had a chance to make it 2-1, but it can't. It just can't. 3 minutes later. Put the foil on. His 25th from Blair and Subchuk makes it 2-1. 2 minutes later. Winnipeg Skiers, hurry hard and sweep hard. Lukowitz says 58 from Nielsen and Lindstrom. Much later. Winnipeg Skiers, Lesek, his 24 from Peter Sullivan. Makes it 3-2. Much later. Winnipeg Skiers again. Preston, I love that word reform. Has 36 from McKinnon and Gray, 4-2. Last moments of the period. Anything? Glad had a chance. It's 4-2. They're gonna give Ed Walsh a period. Might as well. You're gonna be number one in the WHA. Winnipeg scores. Lyle Moffat. He's not Lyle Landley. He's Lyle Moffat. He's 19 from Lindstrom. Monorail. 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 Edmonton takes the penalty. It's Driscoll. And Edmonton takes the penalty. And Lyle Moffat is the last. WHA has the last regular season goal in WHA history. It's Lyle Moffat, 5-2. Winnipeg wins, but they'll have their own problems with New England. Edmonton practically just gave Campuria a start because they needed to. So here are the summary. Real Kluche won the goal scoring race with 109. Morris Lukowitz second with 58. He jumped to second. Peter Marsh for 54 for third. Lukowitz plus Marsh is 112, which is just 3 goals above what Kluche did, 109. 44 from Vittoric, 43 from Mark Howell, 42 from Mark Tartif, 41 from Serge Bernier. Cam Nielsen was so close to 100 to 40 goals. He would have been one of 8 players at 40 goals if he concentrated on goal scoring. Rich Preston, Andre Lacroix, Mike Rogers, Reg Thomas, Wayne Gretzky, Blair McDonald, Brett Callahan, Peter Sullivan, Rick Five, Willie Lindstrom, and Jamie Hislop all scored 30 goals. So 19 30-goal scores. Goulet was off by 1. The assist race for Torek beat Tardif and Nielsen. Kluche took 8th in assists despite his 109 goals. That's 161 points was big. 500-point scores. Kluche 161, Torek 124, Tardif 116, Nielsen 111, and Mark Howell 107. Mo Lukowicz was close with 95. Lacroix did okay, 87 points. Penalty minutes. Rick 5 won the penalty minute thing over Scott Campbell and Paul Baxter. Jim Corsi became the goals again, 3-1-4. Dave Dryden 3-1-5. So yeah, how's that? Standings wise, Edmonton with 102 points. They beat Quebec by 9 points in the standings. Cincy nips New England by 2 points for the 3 seed, meaning New England will have to play at home to Winnipeg. I guess the 4-5 thing. Yeah, Winnipeg. Birmingham just sucked. They were 338 points percentage. Indy was only 160 points percentage, worse than even the Czechs. Goal scoring 321 was Edmonton for first. Wish they could sort it. Goals against, Edmonton gave up the fewest. Home records, everyone was above 500 except for Birmingham. At home, on the road, Edmonton, Quebec, Cincy were above 500. That's it. Teams wise, let's look at the points. For Edmonton, Blair McDonald 81. Gretzky, who only played not a lot of games for the Oilers after coming from Indy, he took second in points with 78. Callahan 71. Can you believe it? No Oiler got 100 points. And Blair McDonald led with 81. Gretzky tied Blair McDonald for the most Edmonton goals, and he didn't even play for Edmonton the whole year. Well, John Hughes had 3 goals. Bill Goldsworthy had 4 points, 4 goals. Assists, Paul Schmier beat Blair McDonald and Gretzky. Penalty minutes to make him number 1. So, yeah. Dave Dryden, 38, 15, and 6. Eddie Meal, 10 and 7. Kempuri was 1 and 1 in Edmonton, and Ed Walsh was 1 and 0. So, yeah. Yeah, Kempuri's lost, right? Yep. But they weren't going for much. 5-game winning streak in October, early November. Then a 6-game streak, including over Czechia, late December, early January. A 7-game streak in January, heading into February. Yeah, they had a 4-game losing streak. Their weak point, New England, Cincy, Birmingham, and New England, but didn't matter. Cincy, their schedule, they were 43 and 37. They had a 6-game losing streak. They were 1-7-1 at one point. It looked like they were going to be terrible, but 1-8. Sorry, technically 1-8. They were at 42 and 29 the rest of the way. They weren't really picked well. They had a 5-game winning streak in November. Well, 2 wins against Indy. An 8-game streak from late December um, through to January, beating Czechia. So, yeah, since he had an 8-game winning streak, that's how you win. You have a 5-game losing streak in March, but they still did it. Stats wise, Rugby for Torque 124 points, Craig Norwich 77, Reg Thomas 76. Moose Messier only had 8 points, but he was a young 18-year-old. Paul Stewart with only 2 points. Goals, Peter March for 54, Rugby for Torque 44, Reg Thomas 34. Messier had no goals. Messier never scored. Well, scored, had the crossmark. Ed Gilbert had at least 4 goals. Anyway, for Torque Norwich and Hislop for assists, Melrose for friendly minutes, Leo 26, 17, 4, Dion 17 and 15. Okay then. Czechia, they were 2 and 5. They did have to face Edmonton for a 7th game, for some strange reason. 7 points for Kirkmont, 6 from Birchlick and Adibik. Edmonton, Birmingham. Birmingham, well, their schedule and all that. Birmingham started out fast, 4-0. How can you start 4-0 and then you freaking shit the bed the rest of the way? They had an 11-game losing streak between November 14th and December 7th. They had to wait till December 17th to face the Soviets, and then they lost to the Czechs. Yeah, they had a 12-game. The team lost 23 of a 24 games from November 14th to January 7th. They lost 23 of a possible 24 games. Their only win was against Edmonton, of all teams. Then they put on a 5-game winning streak after the loss to Czechia, which was an embarrassment. But they won five straight. They had 8 wins before the winning streak. Now they have 13. They beat Winnipeg twice, Cincy twice, and Edmonton once. Then they had a 5-game losing streak against Edmonton. Well, they're definitely not going to the playoffs and all that. Stats wise, the points: Rick 5 with 71 led. Michel Goulet second, 64. Rick 56. Kevin Kirk had 5 points, and he's been with the team from Ottawa to Toronto to Birmingham. Rick 5, 31 goals. Michel Goulet 29. Anuando and Stevenson 24. Anuando. Rick 5, 40 assists. Hartsburg second. Goulet third. Rick 5, penalty minutes. Reagan 17, 24 and 7. Wakely 9, 14 and 5. And Wayne Wood 0, 2 and 2, if you will. So yeah. So Wayne Wood just couldn't buy a win. Cincy, Czechia, Edmonton. Indianapolis, well, Gary Ennis 0-9-1. Gary Smith 2 and 8. Eddie Neal 2 and 3. They only won 4 games out of possible 25. Michel Purcell was 17 points. Wayne Gretzky only had 2 points in Indianapolis. Now, Michel Purcell had points. Goals was Blaine Steiner with 9 in 25 games. Purcell 11 assists. Schedule-wise, they beat Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. New England 7-4. And then they beat Birmingham twice, 3-2 and 4-3. That was their last time. They had a 14-game losing streak between their win over New England and Birmingham. They lost their last 4 convincingly. Yeah, their 14-game losing streak. They did lose in overtime to Winnipeg, which is like, okay, well, that's fine. But then otherwise, they just sucked. They only scored 61 goals in 25 games. That's 2.4 goals a game. That's pathetic. New England, well, Al Smith 22, 14 and 5. Garrett 18, 15 and 6. Mark Howell 107 for points. Lacroix second, 87. Mike Rogers 82. Gordy had 34 points as a Whaler. Goals: Mark Howell with 43. Lacroix 35. Mike Rogers 35. Gordy had 15 goals and 19 assists. Mark Howell assists 64. Gordy Roberts 53. Lacroix 52. Hanksel had been most penalty minutes. Gordy Howell had 70 penalty minutes. New England, let's look at their thing. They had a 5-game winning streak in late October, early November, which was pretty good. Then another 5-game streak a while in mid to late November. A 5-game winning streak late February, early March. To speak of, okay, fair. Quebec, 5-game winning streak late November, early December. They tied the Soviets 3-3 December 12th. People didn't realize that was the only time the Soviets did not win the game. They tied. They were basically peaks and valleys, 45, 32, and 3. Never having a better than 5-game winning streak. They had a few losing streaks. Richard Brodeur, 25, 12, and 4. Corsi, 19, 12, and 4. Lefresser was 1 and 3. I don't think he won the final weekend. Real Cluj, 161 points. Mark Tardif, 116. Serge Bernier, 82. Kevin Morrison at 6 points. Real Cluj, 109 goals. Well, he almost scored as many goals as second place in points, but Mark Tardif had 116. Tardif, 42 goals. Bernier, 41. Assists, Mark Tardif, 47. No, 74, sorry. Real Cluj, second with 52. JC Tremblay, third. Paul Baxter, 235 penalty minutes. The Soviets, 5-0-1. Michigan, 2-0-1. Barbrico, 3-0. Scores off of 13 points. Just like you, bitch. Winterpeg, Matson, 24, 21, 7. Daly, 12 and 10, 1. Gary Smith only played 5 games, 1, 3, 1. I could have given him the last 2 games. I should have. Suitcase Smith. Nielsen, 111 points. Lukowicz, 95. Ruskowski, 76. Bobby Hall had 8 points, including 4 goals. Where the hell was that on television? Lukowicz, 58 goals. Nielsen, 39. Preston, 36. Assists, Nielsen, 72. Ruskowski, 60. Sullivan, 40. Campbell, in penalty minutes. Schedule-wise, Winnipeg, peaks and valleys. Until January, they didn't have a 3-game winning streak or a 3-game losing streak. They had a 6-game losing streak in January, losing to Quebec, Edmonton, Birmingham, New England, and Edmonton. At least they beat Czechia. That would have been embarrassing. They lost to the Czechs. They didn't have bigger than a 3-game winning streak till March when they beat Cincy, Birmingham, Edmonton, and Cincy. 5 straight. Yeah, they won 3 straight late, but everyone rested their players. Highlights, the best wins, hat tricks, 32 of them in that. Still, 6 games hit the 30 mark. Still, the Quebec Edmonton game from November 21st was named the favorite when Edmonton went in with a 3-0 deficit. As Tardif, Dubé, and Tremblay scored. Blair McDonald, Stan Weir, Brett Callahan scored. Quebec tied it, made it 4-3. Bernier, then Carlson and Flett. Then Quebec made it 6-5 with goals by Cloutier and Bernier. Callahan with his 11th. Sawchuk is third. Yeah, Cloutier had 17 goals in 19 games. And the guy freaking went ape. All right, so the playoffs is the quarterfinals, New England, Winnipeg, best of 3. And New England wins the third game 5-2, so they are going to the semifinals. Garrett beats Matson. Winnipeg goes by Lukowicz and Ginden. New England goes by Lacroix. Markel or Marty Howe? I can't remember. I think Markel. Lacroix, Howe, and Lacroix. Andre Lacroix remembers who the frick he was. So now the semifinals are Edmonton versus New England and Quebec versus Cincy. So we'll finish off the WHA for good. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.